Hello, my name is Druk, and today I want to take a look together with you guys at a game called Orbit.Industries, developed by Lab 132 and published by Clabator. This game is out on April 21st, 2022 on PC, on Steam and GOG.com, on Xbox Series X, Series S, and Xbox One, PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, as well as the Nintendo Switch. The developers were kind enough to send me an early copy of the game. You can check out gameplay from Orbit.Industries also on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/druk. Let's see what is Orbit.Industries according to its developers. Become a space pioneer by building and managing a station of your own on the orbit of distant planets. Focus on design and management or fulfill objectives to progress. Explore, build, and prosper. Key features: full 360 degrees 3D view of an orbital station within Unreal Engine 4. An abstract 2D stylized view of management cycles and resource planning. 3 gameplay modes: campaign, creative, and endless. 54 modules varieties to build and design your station with. A technological tree to explore and expand. Guys, I can see that I've never managed a space station in a video game before. This is my first. I spent around 20 hours in the game doing multiple playthroughs. I started a new playthrough 4 times because I would get things wrong along the way, and that either led to running out of money or completely butchering the development order for the new technology. This game seems deceptively simple when you first start it, but it gets more and more complex the more you learn what needs to be done to reach your objectives. Let's take an in-depth look at the game. Graphics are up first. This is a full 360 degrees 3D view of an orbital station with various parts that you can attach to it. It's not very graphics heavy and it's no major issue. This is showcased by the requirements of the game. You need an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 770 equivalent with 2 GB or more of VRAM for minimum requirements. The game does have extensive graphic options though. You have screen settings, with screen mode that can be either full screen, windowed, full screen, or windowed. You have screen percentage from 50% to 100, frame rate settings with VSync on or off, FPS that goes from 30 to 240 or unlimited. I had mine set to 60 FPS and I've had no issues. You also have HDR, where you can set HDR on or off, and HDR brightness. The quality can be anywhere from custom to low and cinematic. I've left mine on auto and had everything on ultra. The setting automatically changes the values for anti-aliasing, textures, post-processing, shadows, and effects. Ray tracing is also an option with API that can be either Direct3D 11 or 12, ray tracing shadows, and ray tracing reflections. Unfortunately, I only have an NVIDIA GTX 1070, so I couldn't use the ray tracing feature. Graphics-wise, the game looks good. The different connection parts of the space station look good in the game. You will notice a lot of nice little details like moving robot arms or antennas and others on each of the parts as soon as you zoom in on them. Other than that, the game is pure management game. You have the technology tree in the abstract system layout or ASL that looks like an electronic board. If you zoom in on each of the components, you will see a lot of fun details. Otherwise, each component is color-coded by type and has a distinct icon that you will be able to recognize everywhere else in the game. The wires that connect each component are also color-coded, and it's easy to see what connects where. If you are colorblind, however, you may have a problem with distinguishing some of the colors, especially later in the game when you unlock more technology. The solution here is to look at the description of each single component at the icons displayed for input and output. This will help you know from which and to which components you need to drag a wire. You also have the station management interface, where it will be easy to distinguish between the various technologies you'll research here. They have the same unique icons attached to them. The missions or contracts you need to complete also have unique and sci-fi style representative images for the specific missions. How is the audio in Orbit.Industries? The music in the game is good. It's very sci-fi and somewhat relaxing at the same time. It works well with the theme of the game. It reminds me a lot of the musical score in the Homeworld series of games. It's a very immersive soundtrack. You also have narrator voices that will help you out with tips and will tell you about the objectives for the missions you're undertaking. You can choose between a male and a female voice. They're both very nice, however I went with the female voice. It gave me that Mass Effect EDI vibe. The sound effects for the game are for the most part good. You always get a notification sound when something happens, even if you are not in the screen where it happens. There is also a metallic sound that you hear every time you select a component in the 3D view of the space station. This, I have to say, gets me somewhat annoyed sometimes after a while, but it's very useful. Let's take a look at the controls. Orbit.Industries is a game that can be controlled both with mouse and keyboard and an Xbox controller. In the game settings, you will only find the controller key bindings, however. I could not see a way to view the mouse and keyboard settings there, even with the controller fully removed from my PC. You cannot rebind the keys as well. The game does offer, though, the contextual keys you need to press based on what you are doing on every single screen in the game, on the lower part of the screen. So there is no way of not knowing what to press based on what you want to do in any of the screens in the game. The game will change the showed keys from mouse and keyboard to controller based on what you are using. Important to mention is the fact that if you connect the controller while the game is running, it will not work. You will have to restart the game. Finally, let's talk about gameplay. When you first start off the game, you can choose between 3 game modes. The campaign, with 4 missions that start you off with a space station near different planets with completely different objectives. The later missions are a bit harder than the first one. These missions all have an end once you've completed the final objective. You also have an endless mode where you can just focus on the economy and research of the space station. You don't have any missions here. Creative mode is where you just focus on building the space station with no economic constraints. You're also not given any missions. The game also has 3 levels of difficulty for the economy and errors. Regarding economy, you can have more, normal, or less revenue for projects. The former makes things a lot easier, the latter makes things a lot harder. Errors can also be fewer and less harmful, moderate, or severe. Errors in this game can be anything from an alien bug attack to a disease or technical malfunction. Each space station component, or the whole space station, can be affected by errors, and they last various periods of time. They will affect the performance of your space station components in completing your mission, contracts, or research. You do have ways to fight the errors. You unlock them via researching new technologies. If you are a new player to the game, I recommend starting with Mission 1, called No Time for Caution. This one has a tutorial that will teach you the very basics of the game. It is also the easiest of the missions you have to do. Right from the start, you will see that in the game there are 2 types of modules you can add to your space station. Vital modules like electricity, oxygen, water that are connected to the space station via the yellow components, and modules that will help you complete missions, contracts, or research that are connected to the space station via the blue components. I can give you examples here like the conference center or the administration center and so on. Building those modules is a prerequisite to help you complete those missions, contracts, or research. The game will also give you the opportunity to expand the space station as you want with the help of connectors that come in various shapes and sizes with different types of module sockets attached to them. Modules and connectors can be built in any direction you want. There is a limit, however. I cannot tell you what the limit is, as I've not reached it in my playthroughs. I did hit one of the margins in the mission Second Home, as you start very close to it, and it's towards the planet in the vicinity. When you reach a limit, the game will give you an error sound, just like when you are trying to build 2 modules one over the other, which is not possible. Once you build a module in the 3D Exterior Station View, or ESV, you also need to place it in the ASL view. Here, you also need to connect the module to the existing starting grid of wires and modules. As mentioned before, this is easily done as they are color-coded. you need to be mindful how you place them and in what position. The space available for all the components and wires is limited. It will become a challenge in late game to place new components if you are not tidy with your placements from the early game. The good news is that you can always delete your modules and replace them any way you want at any point in the game, both in the ESV and ASL screens. Be mindful that if you delete a module in the ASL screen, however, it will not be deleted from the ESV view. The module will be placed in the ASL screen on the deployable system subsection from the System's Overview panel. If you delete a module from the ESV, however, that will also be deleted from the ASL. In Orbit.Industries, you can also control how fast time flows. This is an extremely helpful feature. You can stop time, make it run at normal speed, or run 3 times faster. My recommendation is to stop time, for example, when you want to replace or rearrange any modules, especially if they are being actively used in missions, research, or contracts. You should also speed up time when you are waiting for a mission, contract, or research to be done, and everything regarding your space station is at optimum efficiency. Let's talk a little bit about the activities you can do in the game. You can find them in the SMI screen in the Procurement tab. As mentioned before, you have 3 types of activities. Missions, available only in the game's campaigns, contracts, and research projects. The latter 2 available only in campaigns and endless mode. Contracts are missions that require time and money for completion. They will be your main money makers. They have certain module prerequisites that are displayed in the description of each contract by their icons. The icons can be either grayed out or colored depending on whether you have the respective module on your space station or it is usable. One module can be used for one contract, mission, or research project at a time. Missions are specific to each campaign scenario. They only require time to completion and they don't bring you any money. They also have certain module prerequisites also displayed in the description of each mission, just like with contracts. Completing all missions will lead to the end of the campaign. Research projects only require time for completion and, like missions, they themselves don't bring you any money. However, advancing in the tech tree by unlocking new research projects will make newer contracts that are worth more money available to you. If you don't advance the tech tree, newer missions that appear using the exact same tech will earn you less and less money. If you are starting out and you have no idea what each module or technology type does, you have a list of them with the number of modules for each technology and their efficiency right in the Procurement tab of the SMI section. If you go to the Station Overview tab, you can also see a list of all technology available in the game in the Resource Detail menu. Does the game have any issues? For the most part, from what I've seen, no. The game seems to be well optimized. I've never had a crash or anything like that. The one thing I wish they added is the time management interface in the Station Overview screen. It's the only place where it's missing, and if you want to stop time for whatever reason, you have to do it in 2 clicks instead of 1. This is a small issue anyway. The game is really good. I've enjoyed playing it and will most probably keep playing it on my own if I want to chill. Regarding the pricing of the game, I have no idea about it at the time I'm writing this review, so I can't tell you if it's worth it from that point of view. If you want to test out the game, it has a demo available that you can download and play. My final mark for the game is a Penrose generator out of 10. So what do you guys think? Would you like to play a game like this? Have you played it? What is your opinion about it? Tell me in the comments. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.